Right now in the background, my son is playing around, right? And oftentimes he's running through the house, playing with his toys, slamming doors, um, playing with a little vent over there, um, playing a guitar. Interestingly enough, the guitar that he plays with was actually a romantic gift given to me by his father, who is my husband. And when my husband gifted me that guitar, we've been told multiple times that most likely we would not be able to have children. And when my husband bought me this guitar, it was like we were always trying to find ways to fill up our time. We always wanted kids, but after multiple doctor's visits, being told over and over again, hey, that, you guys might have to undergo some treatments or something like that, we finally started, thinking of, maybe we should fill our time with something else instead of having this anxiety of wanting kids. Fast forward to he probably gave me that guitar in probably 2018, so we're looking at it's 2025. Junior was born 2022, so fast forward 4 years later. Quick math, and we have our son. Doctors told us, hey, you got lucky, and then we were blessed enough again to have our daughter, right? But I want to focus on having a son. This Austin Metcalf situation, the kid being, murdered. Well, I wouldn't say murdered, allegedly murdered. And you know what? I won't even say allegedly, but he was killed. Okay, we can all agree that he died from being stabbed to death, right? I just knew the race hustlers were gonna jump on this immediately. I knew they were gonna be like, oh, if this was a white boy stabbing a black boy, this would have been a different situation. I knew a lot of them were going to be, if you're coming from the white side and you're race hustling, you're going to be like, look, that community, the black community, is full of violent criminals, and look at what happened to this good old white boy. And then on the flip side was going to be, look, from the black people's perspective, oh, a black boy stand up for himself, and they're trying to treat him like a criminal, right? The fact that race hustling will never die in this country, it's one of those things where you have to live with it. But for me, like, I'm in this space in my life where I can't really swing with it. Like this whole always gotta be on code thing, it's just, the on code thing been died with me a long time ago. Like a long time ago. Like, I'm talking when I was a kid. I have never seen a situation where, well, for me personally, when I was on code and my life was better. I've never had that situation. Being on code for me has never worked. And being on code never made sense. It was just always, since you're black and I'm black, it's okay for us to not have integrity, and we should hold each other down regardless. And I just thought that was just stupid. And here's the funny thing about always backing black, even when you're wrong. When you get rid of all the racial antics of it, you're still wrong. And the results of those things that you did wrong are going to come back to haunt you. And they always have come back to haunt me. And I'm the type that don't want to live in a haunted house, right? So I just couldn't help but think about how my husband and I were always talking about how we want the best for our kids, and we're watching what they enjoy. Like how I say, how my son, he runs around a lot. He loves to play the guitar. He's not even big enough. Boy, too, he's not even big enough to play a guitar. Maybe a ukulele, but even that, like he's not even big enough yet. But we watch him, and we have our daughter too, and it's so crazy that we have different conversations. Yes, we consider the fact that she's a girl and he's a boy. All right. Even when people interact with them in public, the way they interact with them, a lot of times people joke about, our son being a troublemaker, or oh, he's probably gonna play football, it's like, I know that we live in a society where there are other people, and of course with other people you have groupthink where everybody's like, hey, this is what most people do and this is what your kid's gonna end up being. But on the flip side, when you look at our daughter, a lot of times they're like, oh my gosh, she's so cute. Oh my gosh, she's gonna be able to get her way all the time. She's such a sweet girl. And even when she's acting out, they're gonna, oh, she's gonna be the boss. She's gonna be a queen, It's like if my son is acting out, oh, he's a little troublemaker. But if my daughter's acting out, it's like it's glorified, her bad behavior. My daughter is always praised in a way that, hey, she's gonna be somebody. And even when my son is doing something that's good, like he's very athletic, very healthy, when people see his athletic abilities, they're gonna go, oh, he's going to the NFL, which is great. That's sweet, nice compliment. But, not that I'm taking shots at football, but I've had family members who play football. I've seen the damage that it does. And frankly, I would have to say, I think that Junior, he could do a whole lot more than football. And it's so eerie because I was talking to my husband about, him running track. So when this situation came out where one teen stabbed another, I was like, I could not imagine like years of not knowing whether or not you're going to have a child, or in our situation, being told that we can't have children. And then to finally have your son, and you try to do everything right by him, and just like that, gone. Like in the most gruesome way, because this man got to see his son dying, bloody. And, I consume quite a bit of media. And I'm really disappointed in how the black community has gone about this. Like, oh my God, if sucker-shaped Al Sharpton come out the blue and start doing this, like there has to be a line where there's shame here. Like, even the black boy, like, okay, you got the brother, the twin brother, who came out and was like, of course he's gonna say from the perspective, oh, it just escalated out of nowhere. Of course that's gonna be his narrative, naturally. On the flip side, you got, Carmelo, I can't remember his name. I think Carmelo Anthony, I think. I can't remember his last name. But the teen who stabbed, Metcalf, it was like, he was saying, is this self-defense? And I don't believe for 1 second that, I want to call him Carmelo, I don't believe that he went out there to try to harm anybody. I don't think he had any. These boys are teenagers. They're pumped full of testosterone. They're athletes, So he probably didn't truly think it through. It's very tragic. I don't think he had any intention on harming anyone. But at the same time, there's a deeper conversation here. One thing that bothers me is the fact that, not victim blaming, but when Metcalf was trying to get Carmelo Anthony, I think is his name, to leave, it's not that boy's place. You can't make a person leave. There are proper protocols. And I know he was just trying to step up, do the right thing, and say, hey man, you're under the wrong tent. But one thing that he didn't understand, Metcalf didn't understand is, something as small as you telling somebody where to be can set them off. And especially, I felt like it was a white America talking to a black America. In black America, if you don't dot every I and cross every T and make those follow-up emails and monitor, and if you don't do all this extra stuff, it could be fatal. Like the minute you make a mistake, and sometimes it's not even you cutting corners and you getting in trouble as a result of it. Sometimes it's just you didn't send a certain message by a certain time, or it wasn't in the right format, and all of a sudden you're the bad guy. That's a world, like, when you're black, you're walking on eggshells, and I understand that. But when you have all that trauma, and then somebody who's perceived to have it much easier than you is trying to tell you where to be, trying to talk to you in any old kind of way, like you don't deal with BS on a regular, and especially as a boy, a young boy, yeah, it can really go down. I don't think that Austin Metcalf, I don't think his mind was there. I don't think he understood. I think he felt safe. And I think he felt like he could just, in his mind, what could I be doing wrong telling this kid that you need to move? And, maybe Carmelo Anthony, I think, maybe the way he thought about it was like, hey man, don't talk to me like that. Because in black culture, there's a certain way you talk to people. And if I tell you, hey, don't talk to me like that, don't touch my stuff either. Don't put your hands on me either. Do not provoke me. I am a human being. Yeah, I might be standing in the wrong place, but that doesn't null the fact that I'm a human being. And again, I feel like on one end, yeah, I talk junk about the race baiting and, but then on the other end, it's like I'm in this has conflicted me personally, because it's like on one end, you want to look at this like, why in the world would he stab this kid? But then on the other end, I've been looking at it like, of course, you're going to have the people who spin it. The media is going to, make it about race, things like that. And then the final thing that's always bothering me is this whole condition of the black community. The disparity between how white America functions and black America functions. The constant walking on eggshells we do as black people in this country, no matter who we are. And no matter, when I say no matter who we are, I mean black people, whether, I have the same anxiety about living life in America that some of my family and friends who live in the hood have. I've been harassed and talked down to by law enforcement the same way people who live in the hood, because when something goes wrong, I remember one time I barely ran this red light, and it wasn't a stale green light, like the light barely switched, and this cop just jumped on me immediately, and he was like, hey, that light was red for a while. And I didn't argue with the police officer. Like, I literally took the left turn right before the light turned red, right? And this cop was just yelling at me. Like, he was flipping out. you ran a red light. It's dangerous what you were doing. What are you doing here? You shining the light in my car, all this other stuff. Now with me, I'm in my 30s. I'm cool. I'm chilling. I've been pulled over. I've been yelled at by cops, and a lot of times, sadly, I've even been cuffed by the cops. I've been told I fit a description and all these different things. It's one thing that really bailed me out. Thing number one, when they see that I am a female and not a male, conversation completely changes. I have to say, every run-in I've had with the police, when they thought I was a black male, it was very hostile. Very. I've even had police rough me up a little bit till they realize I'm a female, and then they chill out. And I'm always thinking, if I were a black male, how would this have gone, right? And then on the flip side, it's like, okay, well, that's number one. Number two, I have a cool demeanor. So like when the cops like come and they, act crazy, hey man, I know I barely made that light. I didn't think that I ran it, but I'm not gonna argue with him. He's an authority. So whatever, if that's his claim that I ran the light, I mean, it's my word against his. He's gonna give me the ticket. I'm gonna go to court, get it dismissed. And that's the thing. I don't think that most black men and black young boys especially are growing up knowing that there are proper channels. There are ways to handle certain things, and you have rights, and people, they have to respect those rights. But then again, as a black woman, and even being with my husband who is a black man, I have seen circumstances balloon out of control and disproportionately be blown out of just people talking crazy to my husband, talking down to my husband, violating his rights. Sometimes I get involved with things that happen to my husband, and when I ask questions based off of whatever the circumstance is, they got the nerve, like people will have the nerve to ask me, am I his lawyer? Just because they violated so many of his rights. So on one end, I can say, as a black boy, why you carrying a knife? But then at the same time, I'm like, black boys and black men grow up in a completely different world than any other group of people. I've dealt with people of different races, cultures, walks of life, and I have never seen the type of distress that I've seen on my black brothers, my black male cousins, my black husband, and even my black son. Black women, we always claim we got it hard. Like the type of stuff that my husband has dealt with, the type of things people say to my son, including grown white men. Like, there has been people that have seen my son and be like, hey, hope he doesn't grow up to be a gangster. And I'm like, oh, I bet his daddy isn't around. I'm like, what? It's like, oh, I guess you handle him all by yourself, don't you? I'm like, no, his father's in his life. Oh, I'm sorry. And it's just weird. It's like there's always an attack on black males. There's always, even from the time they're a little boy, like the day he was born, my son was born, they were trying to say, oh, he might have disability. He might, most black children. And then, oh, since you had so many issues, maybe your child has disabilities. And I'm like, can you run the test first? He's not even showing any signs of issues. But anyway, I know this kind of sounds contradictory, right? On one end, I hate how they're hyping us up about race. But on the other end, it truly is a component, because I think that it should be acknowledged, but I don't think it should be like, yeah, black boy defend himself, yeah, and then, white boy, you finally got what was coming to you, I don't think it should be that. I think it's really sad that this has to be said. But what I think the conversation should be had, that the way that people treat black boys and black men in this country is insane. The fact that there are black boys with knives in their bags. The fact that it's popular for black boys to feel like they need a toolie on them, they need a gun on them, they need a knife, they need something. They can't just walk around as a person. And even when there is a misunderstanding, they don't know how the circumstances are gonna go. It's not gonna always be a conversation. Hey man, I'm gonna just move and go back to my tent. How come it's okay to talk down to black men? How come it's okay to dog out black men? I think that that's something that people should really think about. Like, I don't believe for 1 second that a black boy with a knife just went over to a tent and was like, dare me to move. Like how some of these, extreme right narratives are pushing. And at the same time, I don't believe the far left that's like, oh, poor little black boy almost got beat up by these big, giant masculine, not masculine, but misogynistic, that's what they use, misogynistic white boy. I don't think it went like either one. I think that the cultural differences clashed. And I think that's a bigger conversation that this country needs to have.